What if every country in the 20th century was ruled by women? Imagine a world where Franklin D. Roosevelt became Francesca Roosevelt, Winston Churchill became Winona Churchill, and Joseph Stalin became Josephine Stalin. Would World War II have ended sooner? Could the Cold War have taken a completely different turn? And how would society, culture, and science have evolved under an entirely female-led world? Picture a century where presidents, generals, and prime ministers were all women. Wars, revolutions, economic crises, and global diplomacy could have unfolded in entirely new ways. Policies would reflect different priorities, and the cultural landscape might have shifted decades earlier. From healthcare to education, technology to the arts, an alternate 20th century led entirely by women opens up endless possibilities to reimagine history. The 20th century was dominated by male leaders, men like Franklin D. Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, and Mao Zedong, whose decisions shaped wars, revolutions, and the lives of billions. Their approaches were often shaped by aggression, competition, and hierarchical thinking. While some were strategic geniuses, the outcomes included devastating wars, massive inequalities, and societal upheaval. Now imagine if that power structure were entirely flipped. Francesca Roosevelt, navigating the Great Depression, might have approached social welfare differently, focusing more heavily on public health and community programs. Winona Churchill, leading Britain through World War II, could have emphasized diplomacy alongside military strategy, negotiating alliances in ways her male counterpart never considered. Josephine Stalin in the USSR could have industrialized the country with a focus on collaboration rather than purges and fear. How might history have changed? Would decisions have been more collaborative? Could conflicts have been avoided, shortened, or transformed? Could the societal inequalities of the 20th century have been addressed sooner? And would scientific and cultural innovation have accelerated under female leadership? Consider the world wars. Francesca Roosevelt, as President of the United States, might have led with empathy-driven strategies, balancing military action with humanitarian considerations. Winona Churchill could have approached World War II diplomacy in Europe differently, perhaps forging alliances earlier, mediating negotiations with neutral countries, or prioritizing civilian protection during bombings. Josephine Stalin might have modernized industrial policies in the USSR while avoiding the extreme purges of her male counterpart, maintaining economic strength without decimating her population. Each of these decisions could have altered the timeline of the wars, saving lives and changing the global balance of power. Across the globe, female leadership could have reshaped social policy in profound ways. Education reforms might have been implemented decades earlier, offering girls worldwide better access to schooling. Universal health care could have emerged as a priority in both war-torn and stable nations. Environmental policies might have gained attention sooner, with leaders focusing on conservation, sustainable agriculture, and public health initiatives long before they became global concerns. A female-led Germany, France, Japan, or the United States after the wars might have prioritized rebuilding society in ways that promoted equality and social cohesion, rather than just national power or military dominance. With women at the helm, cultural and scientific contributions may have received unprecedented support. Pioneering scientists, writers, and artists could have flourished under policies that prioritized equity and education. Technological advances in medicine, chemistry, and engineering might have arrived decades earlier. Literature, theater, and the arts could have reflected broader perspectives, integrating voices that were historically marginalized. In essence, society might have progressed not only faster, but also in a more inclusive and equitable way. By imagining female versions of the 20th century's most influential leaders, we start to see a world where collaboration could have triumphed over aggression, empathy over strict hierarchy, and equality over oppression. Conflicts could have been resolved faster, negotiations prioritized over battles, and policies designed for the collective good rather than short-term political gain. The ripple effect would touch every corner of society, from education and healthcare to arts, culture, and international diplomacy. History doesn't just record events, it is shaped by who leads and the values they prioritize. 20th century ruled entirely by women might have rewritten history. Empathy-driven diplomacy, inclusive social policies, and accelerated cultural and scientific progress could have shaped a very different world. Leadership styles aren't just symbolic. They define the trajectory of humanity itself. Which male leader would you have been most fascinated to see as a woman? Comment below with your ideas. And check out my other videos for more mind-bending what-if scenarios that completely reimagine history.